Students, for today's lecture, we're going to look at political parties in Texas. We can really divide this lecture into two parts: the past role of political parties and what's happened, and the present role, what they do today. So we're going to start off with at a higher level, at the federal level, because it applies whether it's federal or state. We want to look at the characteristics of American political parties. The first characteristic, pragmatism. Second characteristic, decentralization. Third characteristic is the two-party system that we have. So these are the three items we're going to look at when describing the American political party system. The first, pragmatism. Pragmatism simply means that ideas are judged on the basis of their practical results rather than on an ideological basis. What this means is simply, we don't care which political party, we don't care which ideology came up with this idea. All we care, was it a good idea or not? Did it work? That is our concern. Decentralization. American parties reflect the federal system and the decentralization of power between the various levels. How many levels of government are there? 3. We have the national, or the federal. We have the state. Then we have the local. Well, how many of these systems does a party work at? Does a party have a presence at? At a national level, at a state level, and at a local level. However, the party can actually go one level down than local government. We see the party can be involved at the grassroots level or the precinct level. The precinct is our base voting area. So the party it represents the decentralization because of national, state, local, and grassroots. What we see is that this decentralization allows ideas to flow from the various levels. If you look at this chart, national party, they can send services down to state. They can send services to local. State can send services up. They can send services down. Local can send to state. Now, when we're talking about services, what are we talking? Easiest thing would be to say money. That's true. But can we send ideas, volunteer, support, that kind of thing? Can this thing move up and down? Do we ever have members of the National Party or members of the federal government coming to rally coming to these elections, these rallies for state officials, or local officials? Yeah. So this party organization allows services to flow freely through all of the levels. Two-party system. What is a two-party system? Definition of a two-party system is realistically only two parties have an opportunity to win the major elections. If we're talking at the federal level, only two parties realistically have a chance to win the presidency. Only two parties realistically have a chance to win one of the two state U.S. senatorships from each state. So that's a two-party system. Only one of the two has a chance to win. I have this wrong. I should have put single-member districts last. What we find is that in this two-party system, third parties, the minor parties, they find it difficult to gain momentum. Why is that? It's because the Constitution sets them up to fail. What do I mean by that? The state constitution, the federal constitution sets them up to fail. Remember that for the U.S. House, for the state House, the state Senate, we represent people, or we elect people from districts. These elected officials represent single-member districts. We have a single-member district system. That means that we elect one individual, one and only one, to represent each district. Now, why would this set up the third parties to fail? It's really, really simple. We may like a third party. We may love a third party. But when we go vote, we want to vote for a winner. Will the third party win? Chances are really, really slim. Chances are against them. And we know this. So we don't want to vote for a loser. We want to vote for a winner. So because only one person can represent that district, and we know the third party's not going to win, no matter how much we like them, we tend to vote for one of the two main parties because we want to vote for a winner. So, because our Constitution creates these single-member districts, this one representative per district, this actually places third parties, these minor parties, at a disadvantage. In Texas, we do see a few of the third parties win every once in a while, but once again, this is not something that occurs very often. The one-party tradition in Texas. Quick review. Please remember, there were no political parties under the Republic of Texas. What did we have? We had factions, remember? From that first section. Those two factions were what? Pro-Houston or anti-Houston. Pro-Houston wanted us to become a state. They didn't want us to be annexed. The anti-Houston wanted Texas to become its own nation. What we see is that Texas politics, Texas government, was dominated by the Democrats from statehood until the 1990s. Why? Well, part of this, shortly after statehood, was the Civil War. The Democrats at the time wanted to keep slavery. We wanted to keep slavery. So that was a portion of it. But also these party primary reforms that began in 1906. Those were those court cases we talked about earlier on. Grovey v. Townsend, Nixon v. Herndon. That starts in 1906, where Democrats are intentionally trying to disenfranchise African American voters, prevent them from going to the polls and voting for Republicans. This kept Democrats in power. And then finally, Republicans were largely associated with the Great Depression. If you recall, Republican President Herbert Hoover was elected president in 1928. There's a Republican Congress. The Great Depression hits in 1929, and the country financially falls apart. It is the Democratic Party under the leadership of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the Democratic Party under the leadership of FDR, that, well, he gets credit for getting us out of the Depression, for the financial mess, and so we continue to vote Democrat. Now, I've been talking about Democrats, Republicans, and we really need to do a quick, what's the difference? What do they believe in? What do they want? And this isn't necessarily party related, but this is going to be in regards to their ideology. ideology, ideology. Their belief in what role government should play. Now, there's two major ideologies in the United States, and we do associate them with parties. Now, but I am going to discuss one major ideology, a mid-level ideology, and then a major ideology again. First ideology I want to talk about is conservatives. Conservatives, these are associated, conservative ideologies associated with the Republican Party. I am going to make some broad, sweeping statements here. Conservatives, they support a free market unfettered by government control. So they want very little government regulation. They want very little government interference with our economic lives. The freedom to grow, to prosper, to grow jobs, to grow job opportunities. They support government action to preserve proper moral values. They preserve, this means that if something, they consider something immoral, they would not mind seeing criminal penalties attached to said action. They oppose programs that involve redistribution of wealth. The Robin Hood plan, take money from the rich and give to the poor. Conservative, pull yourself up by your bootstrap. You succeed or you fail based on your own effort. So these are the beliefs that conservatives tend to have. I'm going to do that mid-level ideology now because there is a tie-in with conservatives, with that mid-level, and we do see some success in Texas elections. This ideology does share its name with its party. Libertarian. The best definition I've heard of libertarian is in regards to money matters, financial matters. They are conservative. They support an economic hands-off policy, so very little regulation. Now, in regards to liberal matters, that action, they support individual liberty and personal responsibility. So when it comes to social issues, they believe along the liberal viewpoint, when it comes to fiscal, monetary issues, they believe along the Republican, the conservative standpoint. So, liberals associated with the Democratic Party, liberals tend to believe that the government should regulate the economy. They want to see the government get involved. The government should protect the disadvantaged. They should help out the poor, the downtrodden. They should uphold and protect civil rights and civil liberties. Finally, they should promote equality. Everybody should have the same opportunity. Now, I told you when I was talking about conservative and I was talking about liberal, I was going to make some broad, sweeping statements. Let me ask, if you are conservative or you are liberal, do you have to believe in every one of those ideas? Do you have to engage? Do you have to accept each idea 100%? No, you don't. And oftentimes, most of us don't. The world is not that black and white. There are numerous shades of gray out there. A lot of us do have conservative viewpoints when it comes to certain matters, while we have liberal viewpoints when it comes to other matters. If you have both, it is totally okay. You are a normal person. I want to talk about the Democratic Party from the old days. We had one party, the Democrats, but we actually had two factions. We had two different groups within the Democratic Party. We had the conservative Democrats, and then we had the liberal Democrats. The liberal Democrats were the very, very liberal. They were the 100% committed to those ideas I talked about a minute ago. The moderate Democrats, the conservative Democrats were the moderate Democrats. They were the middle of the road. They didn't go too far right. They didn't go too far left in their beliefs. The conservative Democrats, moderate. What we see is that there were many more moderate Democrats than there were liberal Democrats, and Republicans would often cross party lines, and they would support conservative Democrats. Conservative Democrats, these moderate Democrats, and we had moderate Republicans, and they were very closely aligned in their beliefs. So we would see them vote for each other, their ideals, their values. Now, these conservative Democrats, they controlled the Democratic Party until 1978. As we got closer to the 1970s, as we went through the 1900s, these conservative Democrats were the shivercrats that we talked about earlier this semester. Remember, these shivercrats, these conservative Democrats, they typically voted Democrat in state and local elections, but they voted Republican in national elections. So these were the conservative Democrats. We saw that conservative Democrats compromised the state party elite. So the more moderate, the more middle of the road, ran state government. So we saw a lot of compromise between the two parties, between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. And overall, these conservative Democrats, the people who were conservative Democrats, the people of Texas, you and me, we're more likely to vote. Now, we do see the Republican Party slowly coming into power, and there's indicators. 1961, the state of Texas elects Republican John Tower to a U.S. Senate seat. First time. 1978, then again in 86. Republican Bill Clemens wins the governor's seat. We talked about that earlier on also. 1992, Republicans are actually elected and they hold both U.S. Senate seats. So both U.S. senators from Texas for the first time are Republican. Finally, 1998, Republicans win every statewide election. They win every election in regards to the Texas executive branch. They win all of those positions. If you look at some of these charts, these are kind of interesting. In 1973, this is a comparison and contrast, 73 to 2011. 73, the Democrats held 132 seats in the Texas House. Republicans had 17. So there's one of those third parties that had one. 2011, look at those numbers. Republicans now have almost a supermajority. Supermajority is 2/3 control. Democrats had a supermajority here. 2011, Democrats have 51 seats. Republicans have 99. Texas Senate, 28 Democrats, 3 Republicans, and 73. 12 Democrats, 19 Republicans, and 2011. U.S. House, 20 Democrats, 4 Republicans, and 73. 9 Democrats, 23 Republicans in 2011. 73, the U.S. Senate, 1 Democrat, 1 Republican. 2011, both Republicans. If you look at this state map, the state of Texas, this is a map that is broken down by counties. These are the results of the 2008 election, and that was between presidential candidates John McCain and Barack Obama. Red is Republican. We can see which Republican or which counties voted Republican. We can see the blue counties, which counties voted for Obama. What we see is that for the most part, the major urban areas, they voted for the man who became president. They voted for Obama. The urban areas, the deep south part of Texas, southern Texas, where the rural areas voted, the number of counties voted overwhelmingly for Republican candidate John McCain. Now, the Democratic Party had factions, but so did the Republican Party. The Republican Party is broken up into 2 factions. The first is the fundamentalist, or the evangelical Christians. This faction has basically one concern, and that concern is moral issues. They're concerned with moral issues. Abortion, homosexuality, whatever it is. That is their concern. The second faction within the Republican Party, is the economic or the business faction. They are concerned with lower taxes, favorable business conditions. So all they're concerned about is the economy. They want to be able to grow, to promote jobs, and promote the economy. I need to replace those. Go to the last one. They are more moderate than the fundamentalists, the evangelical Christians. They are more middle of the road. They are concerned that the fundamentalist will jeopardize the Republican ability to win elections. Why would that be a concern? Have you ever heard the saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease? I think we've all heard it. Well, in this case, the squeaky wheel is who? The fundamentalist or the evangelical Christians. If you look at our news shows, our news cycles, the moderates from either party don't get very much airtime. They're quiet. They're just trying to work to make things better. It is the outliers. It is the liberal Democrats, the far left Democrats. It is the fundamentalists, the evangelical Christians, the far right Republicans that get all the attention because they make the most noise. I mean, imagine if you turn on the TV day after day after day, and you hear these fundamentalists, these evangelical Christians, and their only concern, the only thing they continue to discuss and go on about is these moral issues. How long before we believe all Republicans feel that way about these moral issues, about immigration, abortion, homosexuality, whatever? Well, if that's all we hear from one party time after time after time, is that what we're going to believe the entire party thinks? Yes. That's what we're going to believe. Is it true? No, not at all. And that's why there's this concern by the moderates, the moderate faction, the economic or the business faction. Okay, now this is about the party in the past and kind of up till this point. But now I want to discuss what parties do. The first half of this has been somewhat interesting. This one is going to be kind of dry, so please bear with me. We're going to start off with temporary party organization. Temporary party is going to, or temporary party organization, temporary is going to be, these are going to be done in election years, where we have partisan elections. So, start off at that lowest level, precinct convention, held in March. The convention is open to anybody who participated in that party's primary. So anybody who voted in that party's primary is allowed to attend. Resolutions for the county are adopted. This means that these are ideas for what we want the party to stand for. These are ideas for what we want the party to do. Delegates for the county convention are elected. Attendance is minimal. I actually recommend everybody attend one of these precinct conventions, even if you don't have any at all, any interest in politics. Attend. It takes a couple of hours, but it's networking. You get to meet people. Don't care. Party continued. State convention held biennially in June. So This is going to be held in even-numbered years. We're going to elect our state party officers. We're going to elect members of the State Executive Committee. I'll explain that in a second. We're going to adopt a party platform. A party platform is a codified, it is a written statement on how we stand as a party on certain issues, on certain things. We put forth this party platform so people can see what the Republican Party stands for, what the Democratic Party stands for. During presidential election years, we will elect party nominees for the National Convention, and we will select 38 presidential electors. So this is for us to go to the National Convention and select the presidential nominee from our party. So only every 4 years. I want to look at this idea of a platform real quick, and I like it because you can get an idea of what each party stands for. We see these are excerpts from the Texas Democratic and the Texas Republican Party platforms. If you're looking at, I don't know, what do I want to call this? Bilingual education, multi-language education. Democrats believe government should provide multi-language instruction beginning in elementary school to make all students fluent in English and at least one other language. Republicans demand abolition of bilingual education. The best method is English immersion. So they don't like this idea of people being multilingual. Abortion, Democrats support abortion by trusting the women of Texas to make personal and responsible decisions about when and whether to bear children. Republicans oppose abortion because all innocent human life must be respected and safeguarded from fertilization and natural death. So we can sit here and see what or how they feel on certain issues, certain items. So you can sit here and see, if you go read these, you can see which party you're going to agree with more, the Democrats or the Republicans. Okay, that was temporary. Hopefully that wasn't too painful. Let's go with permanent party organizations. The permanent party leads the party and provides continuity between elections. So the party doesn't disappear in those years where we don't have elections. There are still things out there to be done. We need to be informed of, work to be done, this kind of thing. So once again, lowest level, called at the precinct level. It is run by a position called the chair. The chair is chosen for 2 years by precinct voters. It's an elected position. They organize party activities in precincts, rallies, barbecues, benefits, whatever. They just want to make sure that the party is thinking about you. They want to be able to tell you what the party is doing for you. The chair will preside over the precinct convention, and they serve as a member of the county executive committee. So that's the chair. The next position is at the county level. County level is run by a position called the chair, also an elected position. elected for 2 years. They preside over the county executive committee. Now, the county executive committee actually is very important to parties, to elections. They have multiple jobs. They will determine voting places when we are trying to have our primary elections. What's important about determining a voting place? Well, do you want a place that's going to be easily accessible, that a number of people can get to, or do you want some place that's going to be difficult to get to? You want some place that's going to be easy to access. You want some place everybody can get and cast a vote for your party. So, determining voting places is actually very important. They will appoint election judges. These are to make sure that come election day, all election laws are followed. There is nothing odd that occurs, no hanky-panky. They'll rent the voting machines, and then they'll certify the official nominees. They will say, yes, this person met the requirements to officially run for office, or as on our ballot for this position. So they are important. State level organization run by, can you guess it? Yeah, position called the chair. So I just really think Texas, this proves Texas is a George Strait fan. If you don't know who George Strait is, he's a country singer, been around for about 30 years. One of his biggest hits was a song simply titled The Chair. They're elected for a 2-year term. They preside over the state convention. They certify election runoff primary winners to the state convention. Don't worry about that. We'll talk about primary in the next lecture. The chair is part of the 64-member executive committee. Now, Texas, I'm impressed with Texas, I have to admit. Texas is actually pretty progressive when it comes to these 64 executive members. How do they get their members? Well, 2 of them are the chair and the assistant chair. So how do we get the other 2? How many state senatorial districts do we have? We have 31. So we take 2 from each Senate district. That's not the impressive part. The impressive part is that 1 has to be male, 1 has to be female. So that, to me, that's the impressive part, is we are actually concerned with gender. We are trying to be very progressive in the membership of this executive committee. If you're on this committee, you do 2 things. You will determine the site for the next state convention, and you will produce and disseminate press releases. So you will write up press releases. This is what my party's doing. This is what my candidates are doing. And you'll send them out to the major media around the state. So hopefully if it's a newspaper, they print the story. If it's television, hopefully they run the story. That kind of thing. No, not concerned about this either. Percentage of voters indicating a major party. This is important for the next couple of slides, and then actually for the next lecture. All this is doing is, if we polled Texans and said, do you affiliate, do you associate do you identify with one of the two major parties? The answer is generally yes. 1952, 66% of Texans said they were Democrat, 6% said Republican. 72, 57% said Democrat, 14% said Republican. So we see a slight difference here. Democrats are losing support, they're losing voters who ID with them. Republicans are gaining. 1990, Democrats 34%, Republicans 30%. Really, really close. 2002, Democrats are now underwater. 25% identify as Democrat, 37% identify as Republican. 2008, 35% identify as Democrat, 36% identify as Republican. There is some discussion in the political world about Democrats, about Texas. Can the Democrats still be competitive? What the thought is that when Republicans took over in 2002, when Republicans, I remember I said Republicans won all statewide elections in 1998. Republicans, and I said this earlier in the year, is that the Republican became the majority in the legislature in 2002. It said that we went through a party realignment. A party realignment. A party realignment is simply the transition from one stable party system to another, usually caused by a shift in partisan identification. So the transition from one stable party system to another, we went from Democrat Party rule to Republican Party rule, and the shift in partisan identification is more people decided that the Republican Party could best represent their interest. That was their shift in partisan identification. Why did we have this shift in partisan identification? Why did we have this party realignment? 3 reasons. The first, popular Republican President Ronald Reagan. The 1980s, President Reagan was elected president in 1980. He's a Republican, but he gets the Republicans and Democrats to work together. He enacts a lot of policies that benefit Texans. I need to do those too. Those policies were economic policies. Look at this last one. Long-term economic trends that have benefited the Republicans. So what we see is that President Reagan, working with the Democrats, enact economic policies which benefit us, which benefit Texas. It makes us wealthier. Now, when you have a chance to vote, if you're looking at your pocketbook, if you're looking at your wealth, when you vote, due to your vote, one of 3 things can happen. You can get richer. You can maintain the wealth. You don't get any richer, but you don't get any poorer. Or you can lose money. How are you going to vote? Most of us, we want to get richer. We want to make more money. That's the best option out there. We will accept that mid-level, we don't gain money, but we don't lose money. That's acceptable. What is unacceptable? Losing money. We don't want to do this. So if the Republican President Ronald Reagan, a Republican, gets these laws passed that benefit us financially, are we going to continue to vote Republican so we can keep these financial benefits? Yes. Then finally, here's that other one. Republican newcomers to the state. Just we see a lot of people moving this intra-national immigration, and we talked about it early on in the semester. People are moving from other states to Texas. Now, there are some people out there who said that we did not, or they say, we did not go through a party realignment, but instead we went through something called a de-alignment. De-alignment, we are not associating with any of those two major parties. This de-alignment is a result of, or how can we tell? Many voters are calling themselves independent. They are no longer identifying as a Republican or identifying as a Democrat. How can we tell this? Because at the time, we had something called split ticket voting in Texas. Or we have split ticket voting, not at the time, but we have split ticket voting in Texas. Split ticket voting in Texas means that in certain races, we will vote Democrat. In certain races, we will vote Republican. We are not straight ticket voting. That's what we no longer have in Texas, is straight ticket voting. But that's the discussion for the next time, where we vote all Republican or we vote all Democrat. Split ticket, we are casting our vote between the two parties. And the 2008 election, we saw more people return to partisan identification. We saw more people say, yes, I am a Republican, or yes, I am a Democrat.